but then again, like he can't wear a Phillies jersey.
Yeah,
he's got the Yards.
So
he's got the Yards jersey on.
Yep.
And they approved, which was great. You know, they have to approve all this stuff.
Yeah.
The red pinstripes on the can. Now that pinstripes is something Phillies hold sacred. And they actually approved that for us, which we were like really fired up
sure
about.
That was like,
yeah, he comes by. I mean, during the season. I mean, they honestly they're working the entire time.
Yeah, every other
day. So it's like a rarity to have him there during the season. It's like a couple planned events.
Yeah,
like we have an autograph signing thing we do with him during the season,
mm-hmm.
and we also have a part of our deal with him. We do a buyout, so he gets the entire brewery, and it's all for a fundraiser for his
I think hometown
heroes. Yeah,
nice.
It's really cool.
That's
he raised like $380,000 in one night at the brewery,
That's
which
insane.
is we closed the place. I mean. Tickets were, I think general admission was like $200, and then, you had sponsors that were spending $10,000 and raffling off some amazing prizes.
Welcome back to the Brew That Podcast. I'm your host, Richie Tevlin, joined as always with Evan Blum, and today we have on Tom Kehoe of Yards. Welcome.
Very psyched.
So I want to say, like one of the kind of Mount Rushmore of Philly beer personalities. And, there's lots to talk about with the Yards, but we were talking about, before we got started here, like there's so many other things to talk about with you. It feels like you have your hand in everything as far as Philly or even just Pennsylvania beers related. You've been here from the start, or at least the start of craft beer in Pennsylvania.
Love what I do.
Yeah, thank you for coming on.
Yeah, definitely.
So I guess we want to start from the beginning.
Sure.
So all the way back, I guess in college when you started homebrewing, and we'll go from there.
Sure, yeah. We started homebrewing. Got our first beer kit from Home Sweet Homebrew. And it was pre-George and Nancy, believe it or not. It was across the street. And it used to be a travel store for a while.
Yeah.
But, George and Nancy took over shortly after that, and we were always getting brewing supplies from him and her, which was terrific. Great person to have, giving you that kind of stuff and giving some knowledge back then. And
how long were they open before you guys started going to them?
Within a year, pretty much, yeah.
Hmm.
So they opened probably 89 or something like that.
Okay.
And we were, that's about when we were,
getting started.
Yeah, we were starting a little bit earlier than that. But it was great, we would brew in the dorm room.
Yeah.
We had all the supply of bottles we wanted, even if we wanted to get, the heavier returnables, we had all that. And we had a bunch of, basically slave labor that would help us, making, cleaning bottles,
and
doing all that stuff.
Testers.
It was great. Free taste testers. You always want to have that nice beer before you went out, and that was sometimes our home brew, and then you would go out and drink crap all night.
Nice, yeah. Get a nice, good base going on.
What were you drinking? What were you drinking afterwards, after your home brew?
Natty Bo, probably.
Yeah.
Natty Premium, if we were able to afford that, which was pretty good. We could actually get Yuengling Porter.
That's cool.
Yeah. So this was in Western Maryland.
Okay.
So.
I lived in Frederick for a bit.
Okay.
Close to there.
So no, Western Maryland's a school now. It's called McDaniel College.
Got it. All right.
So yeah, back then it was Western Maryland, named after the railroad.
Okay.
That went through there. So
cool. Awesome. So then from there, I guess you started then at
British Brewing Company.
Okay.
Yeah. So interesting. When I was brewing and John was brewing, one of the professors came up to us and said, I hear you're making beer. And we were just like, yeah, but we just give it to our friends and we're all of age.
Yeah.
Thinking we're getting in trouble,
Yeah.
right? And he goes, I'm a big home brewer. We brew almost every weekend. Why don't you come by and bring some of your beer? We'd love to try it. So he was a math professor, John Clark, Dr. Clark.
Yeah.
And he had us down there. We were making a beer, all grain. We're with these guys making all grain. We're just sort of hanging around. First all grain,
Okay.
yeah. I mean, we still went back and did
the syrups.
the malt syrup and everything. But it was just awesome, being there. And it's like, so, all right, we're done. We just got to wait now. It's like, what do you want to do? Go to a brewery? And we're like, sure. So we end up going to British Brewing Company. The guy that ran it was this crazy English guy named Craig Stewart Paul. Just all personality. He was amazing. And, he's like, oh, come on, we'll give you a beer. And we walk around and we're looking at him just like, this is exactly what we just did.
It's way bigger.
But it's way bigger. It was a 7-barrel system.
Okay.
And, it might have been 10. I think it was 7 now. And it was just awesome. We were there, and it was really a wild kind of system because they had an internal coil that was propane. So it was like a flame that shot around a coil on the inside. So it was like we get caramelized on there, almost like direct flame, like a Pugsley system, or like the direct flame systems that we started out with. That you would get like this almost browning thing going on, and everything. It was really cool. And we just make some awesome beers, and we had. The brewmaster was Steve Parks. Yeah. And he went on from there, and he actually runs the American Brewers Guild now. Yeah. So it's
another legend in the game.
Yeah. So.
And it was all, I guess I'm assuming it was all British beers that you guys were making there.
Yeah. Okay. Well, yes and no. It started out Oxford Class was what they called an amber ale, but it was basically an ESB. Okay. And one of the ones that sort of really got him famous was the beer was made for Craig's wedding, which was a raspberry wheat, and it was
like Beer Fest.
It just took off, which was great. And
in college, did you know you wanted to like get into brewing as a profession yet?
Not yet, although it was something that would be really cool to do.
Yeah.
Kind of thing. You realize, can you make money doing this? We were basically volunteering down there. I think my first payment was a Happy Meal. Basically, he took us out and said, "Do you want one of these?" It's like, "Yeah, sure." And he basically bought us lunch. He bought us a Happy Meal. It's like, that wasn't enough to fill me at all. But it was pretty cool. No, but it was funny. They would do cask ales. And we would do cask ales for Bertha's in Fells Point. So eat Bertha's mussels, you probably see the things. So on Friday they would have cask ale night, and the brewery would walk in with a cask of beer, amber, whatever it was going to be. Oxford Class was the name of the beer. It was still a great name. It had a big buffalo on there, like pulling the reins or something like that, or. It was really cool, but me and one guy are carrying the firkin into the brewery, into the bar, trying not to, stir it up too much, and the place is packed, and it's like now we're carrying this thing side by side. It's like we can't fit through the door, and I go, I got it, and I went through the door sideways with the firkin, and then it just like opened up, and I walked straight back to the bar, put it on top.
Because everyone's waiting for you.
They were waiting there. The bar owner's there with a mallet, put it in the stillage. He goes, "Hold it." I'm like, I held the thing. He whacks the spigot in, and he's like, "Start filling," because they pre-sold the glasses too. So everybody's just handing us glasses. We're just filling the glasses, and the thing kicked in like an hour, if not less. And I was like, at that point, it's like. Yeah, this is what I want to do. Yeah, that was like the defining moment. This is what I want to do in my life.
That's very cool.
It was really neat. Yeah.
So you started working full time, or you went and got an MBA, did a real job, and then came back to this?
No. I actually worked there for the rest of part of the summer, and then actually had to go back. Jersey, where I'm from, Haddonfield. Yeah. And got a real job for a little while. Then ended up bouncing around. I was living in Annapolis for a little bit. Had a few different jobs, and the whole time thinking, this is got to get to this some point where we're going to do this. Yeah. And my original partner John, he had a real job too. He was doing sales right, in Old City. Yeah. And it was just like looking at each other, talk on the phone all the time. It's like, yeah, we got to do this, and we'd brew together, at his place or my place or whatever it was, and just have fun.
Yeah.
And
they just decided it was time to go.
Time to go. We found a place. So we needed equipment, and we couldn't really afford. We really had no money. Yeah. But we were working. We built up credit, and we had credit cards. That was the big thing. We had some cash. He found a place called Terrace Consolidated Industries. Now we have a bottle cap gauge in our lab that's from Terrace Consolidated, and I always look at that and laugh. I go, you know what this company is? So what they did batch equipment for Coca-Cola, Pepsi, whoever needed it, really small stainless steel tanks. So we asked them, could you build this for us? And they're like, sure, we modify tanks all the time. That's what we do. So we had them do a kettle for us, and we had them do a mash tun, insulated and everything. and they said the only thing they couldn't do was do the bottom of the mash tun. And I go, I got that. I'll give you that story too. We could really spend a lot of time on the beginning days, but so we ended up buying this equipment from them, and the bottom of the mash tun took forever, but I ended up buying like 60 cobalt bits and drilling every hole there, and then countersinking it from the bottom, so it would spread out on the bottom, so it wouldn't be a gentler pull through and things like that. So it was really cool, and it's funny. They made it so that it fit tight at the bottom.
Yeah.
They flared the bottom of it was almost like a lid they put in the bottom and flared the bottom of it so it would, seal. It worked out amazing. Still has it. We used it at when we were on Delaware Avenue for a couple pilot brews and stuff like that. We still have this stuff.
It was direct fire.
It was direct fire. Just the same fire and stuff that the Pugsley systems would use and everything. It's not Pugsley. It was there's another name for it, but I forget.
Yeah.
But yeah, so.
So how long do you brew on that? I guess I've heard that you guys couldn't even afford a canning line or not even canning lines, a bottling line at that point. So you guys just
our brewery was only a little bit bigger than this room. Well, it was about 1,000 square feet. It's actually the same size as our garage space at the current brewery.
Okay.
So that place with a pool table, the game room, and everything. So yeah, we didn't have any room at all. We just did cask, and it was all cask conditioned. We didn't have a bright tank.
So everything was in cask.
Everything was in cask or in kegs.
Cool.
It was being conditioned in the kegs. So
wow,
it was pretty. We didn't have it then.
And who were you selling to at this point?
At that point, I guess our original 13 accounts were the ones we delivered to, and then Eddie Friedland from Friedland Beer picked up our beer after that. But it was like Sugar Mom's, Khyber, Dawson Street. Dawson Street was the first one. Kavanaugh's, Brownies.
Was Standard Tap even around back then?
Standard Tap wasn't around yet. No.
Wow.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, William was still brewing at Sam Adams on Sampson Street at that point. So that's 94, 95 right there. So yeah, and anybody else that would buy it, we had like 13 original accounts, and then we would get more once we got with Eddie Friedland. We were only able to brew 3 times, or we were only able to brew 4 times a week originally, and then we were able to get up to 6 times a week. So we maxed out that place.
And you guys were still with Eddie Freeland. You guys were distributing cask conditioned beer.
Yes.
Through him.
Exactly.
If I were to go to my distributor with a cask conditioned beer, they'd be like, no.
Yeah, exactly right. They barely want to take our firkins right now.
Yeah. That's crazy.
So but these were halves and quarters and everything else, and they were all cask.
Wow.
So it was pretty, and they were all Hop Stevens, 2-prong.
Wow.
Because that's what we could afford. We couldn't afford straight-sided kegs.
That's crazy. And this was, so then there you moved to Roxborough.
Yep.
And how long were you in Roxborough? And did you scale up from there, or was that
we scaled up from there. We went to like a local, again, having all the equipment made, a local manufacturer down in Atlantic City called, his guy's name was Frank Noor, but it was like Atlantic Welding. And he made tanks for like everybody. He was like sort of, they would sub tanks out to him all the time, and he would make fermenters and things like that. So we ended up getting basically a 25 to 30, basically a 30 barrel brewery from him.
Wow.
We're totally over
from 3 barrels to 30?
3 to 30, or we called it 25, but it was pretty much 30.
Yeah.
And the mash tun was way oversized. It was great. You could just get great gravities out of it.
Nice.
It was awesome. It was the V-wire mesh floor.
Yeah.
And
you didn't drill these holes in this time?
Didn't drill the holes in it this time. And it was worked out pretty good. I mean, for making the beers that we were doing, it was great. And again, direct fire. So that's probably as big as you ever want to go for a direct fire is 30 barrels. So.
So this was, you were in Roxborough for a couple of years, but then then at some point you moved to where Philly Brewing is, right?
Yeah. So
is that the same system? The system that Philly Brewing has, is that
same? I assume it's the same system.
I was told that Steve Parks built that system.
Well, maybe through me, maybe.
Yeah, maybe mix of the stories. But
that's okay, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I brewed on that system. It's okay. That's crazy.
Yep. Yeah, so the original kettle would have been the hot liquor tank then.
Okay.
I think that got relegated to the hot liquor tank.
Yeah.
The mash tun was still the mash tun.
Yeah.
And we got another kettle from somebody else in
Cool.
Pennsauken. Local guy making it locally. We gave him all the specs. Here's where the whirlpool inlet has to be. All this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So it was.
What was
pretty
it?
cool.
What was it like in the early days and just like growing with craft beer, like with craft beer?
So I mean, craft beer was not everywhere.
Yeah.
I mean, you had to convert somebody to be a craft beer person, and it's almost you were just like educating people all the time. I mean, you were just really telling them, like, this is what would you want out of a beer? This is this is what we're trying to give you. It's like the European beers, things like that. It was you just educated people all the time, and you knew they were ready because now they had Yuengling and Guinness on tap.
Yep.
And it didn't have to be fancy fizzy yellow beer anymore. So it was like people were taking the chance, going a little bit further. Sam Adams was out there. If they had Sam Adams, you knew it.
Like when you go into bars, did they still have like 8 to 12 tap lines, or was like every place like 4?
That's the thing. People had the 4 taps. They might have. They were starting to add more taps. I remember going to London.
Yeah.
London, the bar on Fairmont Avenue.
Yeah.
I mean, it was a big thing when they got 10 taps. They had 4 before. That's what people had. They didn't have many.
That's crazy.
Bridget's, which was right around the corner.
Yeah.
They had 4 taps. They were all Stoudts.
What?
All Stoudts Brewing Company beers.
Okay.
And they were all Belgian style beers, so they weren't all Stouts.
Yeah.
They were Stouts.
I got
Which
you.
was really cool. This guy, Michel Notre Dame, he was into it. Met Carol, and it's like, you're the only beer I'm going to serve.
That's really cool.
Things like that. People like to take ownership in the new breweries that came along and that they made a relationship with.
Definitely.
And that's what it was about. It was making relationships. When you're delivering your own beer, they're seeing you make the beer and you're delivering it to me. Things like that. Eventually we got Friedland, but every time Friedland delivered a new beer to a place, we would be there that day. We made sure we wanted to deliver the tap handle ourselves.
Yeah, I mean, Erin told us even back like when she was starting. What was before Devil's Den? It was the old.
The one in Manayunk?
Yeah, the one in Manayunk. She was like, like you would show up, Brian would show up.
The Eagle.
The old Eagle.
Yeah.
Old Eagle.
Yeah, and it was like, you guys were showing up and like, it was kind of like a different vibe to the whole industry back then.
Yeah, it really was. It was really neat.
That's cool.
And you looked out for each other, and microbreweries weren't in competition like everybody thought. It's kind of like cheesesteak places being in competition.
Yeah.
People that eat there make up the competition.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, this one's better. No, this one's better. Cheesesteak owners like, go to either one of us. We're going to give you a cheesesteak,
Yeah.
Same like with the beer guys. We'll sell you the beer, go to either one of us.
Yeah.
And it was even funny, even the sales reps back then, you would, be out, you would have beers with them. It's like, oh, they don't have an English ale. We're Victory. We're serving this German crazy stuff. They need a ESB.
I talked to him
there.
about this before you came on. It's like you guys were brewing the English ales.
Yeah.
Victory's brewing German lagers.
Yeah.
Dogfish, I was brewing IPAs. And then Iron Hill was like the brew pub. Like you guys all stayed in your lane and brewed together, but kind of like picked your specialty.
Yeah, we were happy to be on tap next to somebody else because we knew that if you got one person in there, we weren't cannibalizing.
Yeah.
Really. Unless you were like the only craft on.
Yeah.
And then you got a second craft, then it divided in half because some people might want one of each. They were just drinking craft because it was there and local. So
yeah,
I remember that happening a lot of different places. So
yeah, so like
you did all the work of getting in there.
Yep.
Now you open the floodgates. Everybody's in.
That's funny. Yeah. So then you moved from Roxborough to where Philadelphia Brewing is now.
Yes.
You guys were there for a couple of years.
5 years. 5 years Roxborough, 5 years there.
Okay,
and
cool.
About a year and a half at the original place on Grams Avenue.
Cool.
Yeah.
So then Bill and Nancy were there.
Yeah.
We heard from John.
John.
That what's it called? Joe Badia was a brewer for you at one point there.
Yep, Joe was there. Yeah. we had our famous packaging guys and Joe Badia and then Kurt Weil in the packaging line. Guy was amazing.
Yeah, that's funny. It's like cast of characters coming through.
Yeah. but Joe, he cut his teeth working at Neversink.
Really?
Out in I guess is that Reading? Yeah, Reading. And then, bounced around to a couple different places. He was he was moving. He was going to figure out his
something.
path, you know, and he did figure out his
Definitely.
path, which is awesome.
Yeah, pizza guy now. Cool. So then at some point, the split happened, and then you moved. You took the name brand Yards.
Yep.
And they stayed in the location. Then you moved. Did you move someplace else before Delaware Ave, or did
Nope.
you go?
We went right there to Delaware Ave.
Okay. And Delaware Ave is pretty big.
Yeah.
So you guys moved right into that big, and you guys built the brewery, the same brew house that it is today.
That is there today. Yeah.
Okay.
So we did that. So I was lucky to find when we first started, the ultimate brew house was a JV Northwest 50 barrel brew house.
Yeah.
It was in the back of every magazine, and we got that brew house, pictures and everything to be the exact one. It was actually came from Ybor City, and I flew down to Florida and looked at it and was like, yeah, I want it, and flew down 2 weeks later with the rigging guys and loaded it on the truck and brought it up there, and it was pretty intense getting it in the building and everything, and then getting the tanks done. We had they didn't have any fermenters. We had to buy, a couple fermenters and things like that. So we had them made from Newlands, and most of the fermenters we had made were from Ripley up in British Columbia, which was pretty cool.
All over the place.
Yep.
I've yet to see one of those big tanks moving down the highway.
Yeah.
I'm waiting to see it out.
If you come to the brewery when you take the tour,
Yeah.
you'll see two tanks. One of the first two we got from Ripley that have dents in them. And it was because it hit the underpass going on 95 into Delaware Avenue. So you take that Delaware Avenue exit off and going under there, the guy clipped boom, clipped them both. It was crazy.
Funny.
But, they watched out after that because they thought they had the clearance. Apparently you do on one side, not the other.
Oh, my God.
Wow, yeah.
Just tight.
Yeah. But nothing wrong with the tanks. Everything, they came there. Welders made sure that, the jackets weren't. Because right there at that turn, it was right where the cone meets the sidewalk.
Well, I'm going to look at it every single time I
Yeah,
pass
so
now.
so right there, there's no jackets. There's just nothing but it's a double wall.
Okay,
So, yeah. And inside it's not dented. So it's just that outside jacket.
And that was kind of cool. Now it's like, I think you can point that now.
We used to do that. We got a couple tanks from Dogfish Head, and all they would talk about, it's like, Sam did that dent with the forklift. And, just like, we don't let him on the forklift anymore. And that was 30 years ago. So
the first time I used a forklift, nobody told me how to use it. And I was interning at the time in high school, and I ran the forklift into the side of the building. And there's just 2 holes in the side of the building now.
Oh my, where
it was like some landscaping business that I was interning at, but it was like, I had no idea what I was doing.
I had summer jobs working all kind of construction stuff, and I was driving a forklift early on.
Yeah.
Which is, learned.
Back in my Nestle days, I was like warehouse manager.
Yeah.
So there was oh my God, maybe 40 forklifts going at a time.
Yeah.
It was some.
And they're flying because
they are
like,
flying.
That's all they do is drive those things. Yeah.
They're good. They're great. But then you have some pallets that get lodged, and you see some crazy shit too. So it's entertaining. To do that.
I mean, back in the day though, I feel like breweries are established now, and it's like when you go into it, there's kind of training programs, and it's set up. There's safety programs.
Yep.
But I feel like back in the day, it's kind of like the Wild West. You guys were building this industry as
we were learning
you guys
everything.
didn't have factory.
We were learning everything. We were working all the beer festivals ourselves.
Yeah.
So it was absolutely common to see me, Bill, Ron, Sam,
Yeah.
Mark, everybody there working the festival. Brian was there.
Yeah.
It just.
We had Jeff Norman on the other day from Cannon Beer Fest. He's like, the
Okay.
first couple of times, he was so thankful. Everyone showed out and was just I wasn't expecting you guys to be here.
It's we're the guys that got to work the weekend.
Yeah. It's cool.
So,
And I guess back then there weren't, when did the Brewers Association start? Did you guys even have resources as far as?
So the Brewers Association was the Association of Brewers back then, and then became the BA a little bit later. But yeah, they were around because, they were probably when we started on the 4th GABF.
Okay.
By that point, yeah.
Wow.
So they started pretty early, and it was really small, all that kind of stuff. So yeah.
Yeah. And this whole time, you guys have always brewed
more than
English
that,
ales.
because They had their 40th a couple years ago. I'm sorry.
Okay. But it was probably different than what it is now. Like you were saying, it's much smaller.
Yeah, much smaller.
But this whole time, you guys are always brewing English ales. Like you guys were the English ale brewery.
Yep. I mean, our IPA was an English IPA.
Okay.
You know, we were doing that kind of stuff. So yeah.
Yeah.
We did an old ale, which was one of our most popular ones, which is pretty cool.
Why? Like, what made the style? Why English? Like.
Well, it was partly working at the British Brewing Company.
It's
the styles that we liked going out. It's like we would go for a Fuller's, double diamond. If we get a Young's, that's the kind of beer we were drinking when we would go out. Bass, all the time. That was the beer we liked. As far as the German lagers, it was like it wasn't exciting.
Yeah.
The other stuff was a little bit more exciting. I think. It was probably turning out to be a malt head at that point, but porters, things like that. But I mean, the Yuengling porter was just like, if you get that, it's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
So.
And like, how many barrels were you guys producing? Like, you guys moved over to this big place. You guys had a 50-barrel brew house.
Right.
Was it like you guys?
So
were brewing once a week
when we ended at in Rice Broad and Hess, where Philly Brewing is.
Yeah.
We were doing about 7,500 to 8,000 barrels at that point.
Okay.
So when we moved over, we moved up to a 50-barrel brew house.
Yeah.
We added a kettle because what it was one of those combi tanks where the mash tun turned into the kettle.
Yeah, you gotta get through, clean it out real quick.
Yeah, you clean it out real quick and then transfer over to mash or whatever.
At 50 barrels, it's like that's like almost like a pub brew system now. It's like trying to figure that out.
Yeah. So wait, where were we going with this?
Like how much volume?
Volume. That the first year of production we did about 9,000 barrels from August to August or whatever, because that's when we actually finally got going. It took us 8 months to really get everything done and going there, and it was great. Some places just put a couple on top of the yards tab and said, "This is here when you guys give us beer again."
Yeah,
which was really awesome.
Mm-hmm. Cool.
So we ended up, getting that going and. I think by September of the following year, or the following year, I think we did just under 15,000 barrels, and that's like where the BA cuts you off at being a small brewery, and we were like number one.
Nice.
That year, and I thought that's like a cool thing, and I totally saved that magazine where we were up at number one at like 14,000 some barrels or whatever, and then the following year in September we eclipsed 15,000 barrels.
Nice.
Because we were growing probably 40% a year.
Wow.
Which was crazy. I mean, it was just, everybody was. If you just didn't have the capacity, it just, and then, we got to maybe, I think that year, almost 20,000 barrels, and then moved up next year, we had like 29,000 barrels, So it was just.
What was the tap room vibes like back then? Were they like?
So our first tap room was on Delaware Avenue.
Okay.
When we were still in where Philly Brewing is, tap room were still, as a brewery, it wasn't
normal.
It wasn't really normally. It wasn't set up.
Okay.
Set that way. Just after we got to Delaware Avenue, then tap rooms really started to become a little bit more prevalent.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And the laws changed. We still had to go when we were in Delaware Avenue get our GP license.
What's that?
A G license is your general brewing license.
Yeah.
GP is general brewing and pub. So you had to get a pub license. You paid another $750 a year, which was nothing really. But I mean, to get the pub license, and they would inspect you for the pub thing and all that kind of stuff. Now it just comes with your G license, all that stuff.
Now you get 3 of them.
Right, exactly. Hopefully 5 soon. That's one thing the Brewers PA is working on.
Nice. So that's another
symmetry
thing.
With.
So this whole time you were also involved in other things. So when did the Brewers of Pennsylvania start? Because you were a part of putting that together, right?
Yeah, originally we did it, and it wasn't really called Brewers of Pennsylvania. I think it was like the Pennsylvania Brewers Guild.
Yeah.
And it was like Dan Weyerbacher was our president, and that started really early on, probably like 99.
Wow.
And then it disbanded probably 2004, let's say.
Yeah.
But then it really started up again, I think in 2009, maybe 2010.
Okay, cool.
We all met at Victory. Even Yuengling was there, and we decided let's write this up and make it something. Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
Was there something that led to it, or just at the time?
There was something that led to it, and it was I'm not going to get it absolutely right, but
Yeah.
there was some legislation coming down that, really would have, kind of crushed us.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a beer distributor thing, where not only, I'm not sure which one it is, but Straub, who had a really tight relationship for hundreds of years with people in legislature, and the guy that was sort of head of the majority, was like, oh, this is going to hurt your business. So he killed the bill, and we realized we have to be a group that comes together and does all this stuff. We hired a lobbyist and things like that. Turned out to be not the right one for our group, so we switched a couple times, and now we basically are using our own tools and our own executive director to really help us lobby and things like that. But we're big enough now that there's a Pennsylvania Beer and Distilling Caucus, which some of the House members are all part of, which is great. And everybody, almost every House rep has a brewery in their contingency.
Yeah.
Constituency.
Yeah. That was something that Eric was talking about when we had him on from Jersey.
They had some crazy stuff going on over there.
Oh my gosh, yeah. It's seemingly getting a bit better, but there's still some laws for sure. Thank you. But yeah, he was saying like everybody in legislation at this point, like they go to a brewery.
Yeah.
Like it's just near where they're at. So it's something that they want to be a part of that and help everybody out too.
Right. And I always look at the map. Is there a brewery near here?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there definitely is. Like every single town now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's great.
So, I mean, in the beginning, like we've talked about it on a couple of different podcasts that really in the last 5 to 10 years, Philadelphia has started to explode with breweries.
Yes.
And like before that, like we were a big brewery town, but there weren't many breweries in town. And you guys are like the only, I guess, regional sized brewery that's located within the city.
Yeah.
So it's a little bit different than everybody else in the state. Like you guys are like, I mean, it's different to be a city brewery. Like you guys are just operating differently.
We really do. I mean, our space is, a premium because we're paying for that kind of space in the city. It's also, we're paying more taxes to be in the city.
Definitely.
Things like that, but I think we do have a lot of advantages. Some are advantage of our workforce.
Yep.
The workforce is near to the brewery. They're easy to get to. We definitely have a better resource for that than I know other breweries just struggle to get good workers, to get good people to come in and do their brewery.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And also you have the tap room that's just like insanely busy all the time.
Exactly. It's part of like being part of a neighborhood, things like that.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's other areas where, it's a destination for people to go to.
Yeah.
To visit. I mean, heck, you have 1 million people going through Hershey and they're all going to Troegs.
Definitely. Yeah.
Even the kids.
Yeah. But yeah, it's very cool that you guys kind of like, put your stamp on, and like a lot of your branding like is very Philly eccentric.
Yeah.
Speaking of, I guess this is a good transition to Philly standard. So,
excuse me.
The only, I guess, Philadelphia-based regional brewery, but then also the only brewery that I know of that's like a craft brewery around here that does athlete partnerships.
Yeah, it was, it was a stretch. We were scared about doing it, because, we're not the big guys.
Yeah.
Not even close. I mean, we're a big brewery, but only in just because
relatively,
of what
but
they
you're
say,
also relatively a super small brewery.
Exactly. I mean, Yuengling and Sam Adams are small breweries compared to the big guys.
Yeah.
But it was an opportunity that we're always trying to do more with like the stadiums, things like that. Mm-hmm. And I think they got wind, especially the agent, like players weren't able to do endorsements, things like that. They still aren't in football. Like we couldn't get a football player to
just with alcohol for anything.
Well, it's not just
because I know the NFL is like $1 billion.
Yeah, I think it's anything for NFL.
Okay.
I think it might be alcohol for the Phillies.
Okay.
But then again, like he can't wear a Phillies jersey.
Yeah.
He's
got the Yards
So he's got the
jersey
Yards jersey on.
Yep.
And they approved, which was great. They have to approve all this stuff.
Yeah.
The red pinstripes on the can. Now, that pinstripes is something Phillies hold sacred, and they actually approved that for us. Which we were, like, really fired up
I'm sure
about.
that was, like, a lot of going back and forth, like...
Yeah, it does, and that's all the design guys. And, if you do something classy, it's going to get approved.
Yeah.
We're not taking advantage of, everybody hates me beer. Or something like that. Everybody hates us beer.
I feel like you guys have done stuff with other athletes in the past. Maybe not beers, but...
So we've done stuff with the hockey players.
Yeah.
We were able to do that, so... We did the hazy beer for Kevin Hayes.
Yes.
That's cool. That's cool.
That's funny.
Which was good, yeah.
Does he come by?
Yeah, he comes by. I mean, during the season, they honestly, they're working the entire time.
Yeah, every other
So
day.
it's like a rarity to have him there during the season. It's like a couple planned events.
Yeah.
Like we have an autograph signing thing we do with him during the season.
Mm-hmm.
And we also have a part of our deal with him, we do a buyout. So he gets the entire brewery. And it's all for a fundraiser for his
I think I saw
hometown
that.
heroes. Yeah,
Nice.
which is really cool.
That's
he
super
raised like $380,000
Wow.
in one night at the brewery,
That's
which
insane.
is we closed the place. I mean, tickets were I think general admission was like $200, and then you had sponsors that were spending $10,000 and raffling off some amazing prizes.
That's very cool.
Yeah.
That's so cool.
And it's like you have so many different things going on because you also have the cask beer event that you do.
Yeah.
Like one of the largest beer fests in the city. All cask beer, which
the
is
Real
very
Ale
cool.
Festival, and
The
we
Real Ale
were talking about it today. It's like it's going to come up quick. It'll be at the end of April, and so we're planning for it now.
Nice.
So yeah.
Yeah, it seems like you're just kind of involved with everything. I mean, like we've had people on from Philly Beer Week. You were there, kind of. Were you there the start of Philly Beer Week?
That started Philly Beer Week. Yep.
And it started off as Philly Beer Week, or it's Philly Loves Beer, right? But it started off as
Right. It started out as Philly Beer Week, and it was almost sort of that. I think that name sort of evolved. What had happened? We used to have this great beer event that Michael Jackson would come in every year.
Yeah.
And he would do like a book signing at the Penn Museum.
Yeah.
And then we would have a big beer festival afterwards. Around that, Michael Jackson would have a couple places like Monk's and a few other places that he would do beer dinners.
Yeah.
And other people with books would come in and do dinners other places. And it turned out to be like a little sort of like restaurant week, beer week kind of thing.
Like unofficial.
Unofficial. And it was all around Michael Jackson. Then Michael Jackson passed away.
Yeah.
And we're just like, we had one in honor of him there at the at the Penn Museum, and then it was like get together with the people from the Penn Museum and Don Russell, who was the
Six Pack Joe.
Joe Sixpack. He was part of the media doing the writing back when
Yeah.
everybody used to read newspapers, and Tom from Monks, and they were like the three leaders of of the whole group, and then it was a couple breweries, me and Victory might have been part of it back then. I'm not sure. And then it was mostly restaurants.
Nottingham, there was mostly restaurants that just like serve craft beer.
Yeah, mostly restaurants that serve craft beer. So there was not as many breweries in there because they were like, we're beer bars. We're going to get the breweries. We want to do stuff at our place.
Okay.
So like Peters was able to grab Tommy Arthur from,
cool.
Penn, Pizza Port and all that kind of stuff. Bring them in, bring Carol Stout in, and then not only that, there was other kind of things happening, like American Beer Week, which the BA was doing. They would do like, a thing in July where they would, get all the people
in
out,
Philly?
In Philly, everywhere. They would do like a bunch of different, towns all along the way.
Okay,
So,
cool.
yeah, so that kind of thing was happening. And then we decided, let's do our own, and we had some nice, PR people going on with it and things like that. Profile PR did it, and they were all into the beer and things like that. They also do like a writing thing. I think Sam Calzone did one of his books through them, things like that.
Cool.
So it was all sort of tying things together that way.
Have you ever thought about writing a book?
No.
No?
I think about it, but eventually I
write
might
it?
do it, but
I'm sure you got some
It'd be
crazy
fun.
stories.
Yeah, really.
I guess I read all like Sam's, Garrett's, like all of them, and I feel like you were right there with them, kind of.
Yeah, it was cool. It was like and cheering them on all the way.
Yeah.
I mean, they're just great personalities. They're great out there. They really, they really show off the industry great.
Yeah.
And I think that's something that we need to do. So
Definitely.
You talk about that often.
Yeah. It's the, I don't know. So, I mean, your transition over to Spring Garden.
yeah,
Like, you guys are still growing like massively.
we're 11 years at
11
Delaware
years.
Avenue. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then you guys are just like bursting at the seams and like, we have to get out of here.
Yeah, we didn't have a canner over there. And
Okay.
canning
Oh my gosh.
not only takes up a lot more space with storage of cans,
Yeah.
but just to put the line in and things like that. So that was one of the main reasons for us moving over there. Another reason was, to take advantage of the tap room model a little bit more.
Yeah.
Yep.
And also, do events.
Yeah.
That's such a big part of
I mean, tap room was
the tap
really
room
nice
model.
there.
Yeah.
It was much smaller though. It was very like
Yeah,
intimate.
much smaller, and we didn't have a secondary space.
Yeah.
We basically closed every night at 7, and if someone wanted to have an event from 7 to 11, we would do an event for them
In the brew house?
in the tap room
Okay.
on Delaware Ave. So Delaware Ave closed every day at 7.
Wow.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
One of my favorite parts of your tap room is the window to the canning line. It's such a cool thing to see behind, see behind the scenes.
Yeah.
And
I feel like that used to be a thing where a lot of breweries their tasting room you could see into the production floor. Like now
Right.
tasting rooms have turned into just bars.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I do like that where it feels like you're actually within
Well,
the brewery.
that was part of our goal when we decided to build this brewery and we hired our architects and things like that. It was, we wanted to be able to take people through a tour. So we actually had a tour path going through the brewery.
Yeah.
But when people were sitting there eating, they could admire the brewery because you got our brew house right there. You got our canning and bottling lines right on the other way. And then, even if you're upstairs at the banquet space, you can look straight across at the brew house, things like that. Out front are the tanks.
Yeah.
You can actually have a beer and, a
Yeah,
meal
like
underneath the tanks.
Yeah.
And that was funny because we were getting all these ideas from our architects, designers, and it's like, and I was out at a CBC or something, and our tank manufacturer's there, and I go, can you guys make a tank with longer legs so we can have a beer underneath it? And he's like, sure, why would you want that? And then I handed him the picture. He's like, I get it. Yeah, we can do that. And so we ended up, adjusting our order so that they could, basically be, 10 feet high rather than 6 feet high.
Nice.
And that's how you're able to just have a beer underneath the tanks out front.
Yeah.
And the idea was to make the brewery so that people could, touch it.
Yeah.
Be part of that, be part of the experience.
And the real ale event is in the brewery, right?
Yeah, it's in the brewery.
Yeah, that's very cool also.
And we definitely like that idea. So
Yeah, set up the band in there and everything.
yeah,
Cool.
makes the fest.
So you guys were a 50-barrel brew house in Delaware Ave, and then
Yeah.
how big is the system now?
It's a 100-barrel brew house.
Wow.
It's fully automated. Like at Delaware Avenue, you turn to every valve. Here, you're clicking the mouse to turn the valve.
50-barrel brew house, manual brew house is crazy.
Yeah, it was. It was pretty intense.
Yeah.
It was an older system, and we had some quirks.
Yeah. Yeah. So were there upgrades? Like, did you get different filtering systems, or did you upgrade the brewing system to add extra vessels, or did you see any pitfalls in the Delaware system that then you kind of improved?
Oh,
when you moved over?
almost everything. Yeah, honestly, almost everything. I mean, JB was great manufacturer.
Yeah.
And it was our first brew house that wasn't really built by me.
Yeah.
So it was this was real engineered brew house and things like that. And it was kind of cool to be able to be like, this is what we wanted to do, and then they would say yeah, we can do that, and every now and then they go, why do you want to do that? And we'd be like, because of this, and they'd be like, okay, we get it, we're gonna try to do this for you.
Was it beer driven? Like you guys had certain brands that you guys were basing it around?
A lot of it was that, and we weren't worried about if we had to change some things to brew certain brands that would a real high gravity or something like that. We would make those adjustments. But
okay.
It made it so we were able to find the hit what we wanted to hit every time we made the beer.
Yeah.
And the thing is that they gave us, which we didn't realize, how important it was till we actually started brewing it was the consistency. We can brew the same beer twice exactly.
Yeah.
Which is awesome. And it's, it's their programming, it's all that kind of stuff in there, and it really makes
a game changer.
Really is, yeah.
And what type of, were you guys still brewing primarily English style beers when you made the switch? I know you guys have expanded a lot, like the IPAs now, but was it still mostly just English?
We at Delaware Avenue, we started doing more of the American craft beer kind of stuff. So Philly Pale.
Yep.
Although it started at technically it started in Roxborough, but it really got much better when we did it when we changed the recipe at Philly Brewing's spot, and then once we got it to like bigger system and everything, we were able to brew a little bit of higher gravity and things like that on the 50 barrel, which really made it work.
At Wazak Inc., they keep your water clean, safe, and flowing at its best. From local breweries to busy distilleries, they're proud to serve over 20 spots across New Jersey, New York, and PA with top-tier water treatment that's affordable and built to last. Wazak know that every brewery has unique needs, so they tailor boiler treatment plans that keep equipment running smoothly and efficiently. And for them, it's not just about water. It's about delivering safety, satisfaction, and reliability to every client. So ready to elevate your water quality? Connect with Wazak Inc. today and let them get your system to its peak performance.
Yeah, that makes sense. So you guys have been around for a while. What's like the... You guys have had some iconic brands that have come and gone.
Yep.
Is there like some old heads that were there from the beginning and they're like, everyone always asks for this beer? Do you guys put it out every once in a while?
We do. We're starting to put things back out every once in a while. Like we redid some Cape of Good Hope, which was a big fan favorite. It was a total cult favorite for a while.
Yeah.
And I guess we do the Imperial Stout. We haven't done Trouble, which was a strong Belgian double. Things like that, which, we're eventually going to bring all these back. But, when the time's right, things like that, when we need something cool to fill in, we kind of look at our portfolio and be like, okay, what holes do we have? What do we want to do? And what are people going to buy?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Right here, this is the Hazy Pale Ale. It's, it's not an IPA, but...
Yeah.
Are people leaning a little bit away from the higher alcohol IPAs?
I think they are.
They are, and they still want the hazy. So it's
I'm very against NA beer, but I do like low ABV beer. This beer is great, by the way.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think my favorite when Summer Crush came out. I love Summer Crush.
Yeah.
That's my favorite summer beer. It's probably just my favorite beer. I would probably drink it all the time.
And it's funny. Our best-selling seasonal before that was Saison. We did a Saison for years in bottles. And it was a little higher alcohol, and we thought that by lowering the alcohol, we got out of that Saison category, and we're into that sort of wit beer category.
Yeah.
And that's where the Summer Crush came in.
What is loaded question? What is your favorite from years, I guess, of your favorite brand here?
I mean, my favorite's still my baby.
Yeah.
It's ESA. ESA is just an awesome beer.
Faithful.
It's enough of everything. It's got enough malt, it's got enough hops, it's got enough character, and it's just something you can really drink, which is awesome. That's still my favorite, and I'm biased because it's it's the first one, but still.
I feel like Yards has also done a great job of kind of insulated, maybe. You guys hire a lot within.
Yes, we do. Yeah.
And I know you guys make a point of that, and it's a lot of breweries. It's just it's very much like a year turnaround rate.
Yeah.
It's just people run from brewery to brewery, but
Right.
Yards does a great job of hiring people, holding on to people, and if you're working at Yards, you work there for a very long time. Is that from the beginning? That's kind of always been a thing, or at some point it just kind of naturally happened, and now it's just you guys had some great people working there, and it just
it's kind of always been a thing, but at the same time, you got to realize that people are limited to where they can go in the company too.
Okay.
If we're not growing, if we're not expanding, then people are feeling stagnant too.
Yeah.
So the whole thing is you got to keep doing things. And keep moving, keep growing. And one reason why we're doing, a lot more contract brewing these days.
Yeah.
Which is,
Yeah, I feel
something
like
that's
everyone-
becoming a big part of our business.
Definitely. I mean, you guys have the 100-barrel system. There's not many breweries. Like we keep saying, like in the city that have 100-barrel capacity.
But some people have 100-barrel brands
Yeah.
that, taking that big brand that they're brewing so much of lets them brew all the smaller stuff, which
Definitely.
they probably enjoy more.
And like Kenwood, do you guys brew Kenwood, right?
Yeah, we do Kenwood. Yeah. So, and which they really pretty much have the one beer.
Yeah.
Which is, we can handle that. They don't have a brewery.
Yeah.
But, we're happy to be that guy.
Yeah.
And we're proud, every time we see their handles out there because, and they're growing their brand, which is cool.
Yeah.
But, we have other ones where, some of the big brands, they can brew all the other stuff and we take care of the big one for them.
Nice. I like that. I mean, you guys have that automated brew house. It's just like,
it's really,
we got this beast.
Yep. And, we have a amazing canning line that, just such, nice packaged product.
Yeah. And so you guys don't do any bottles now at all? You guys?
No, we're still doing bottles.
Okay.
Yeah, we were bottling Philly Pale today.
Okay.
So, so yeah, we still bottles. We still do bottles of our core. We do one contract we have does bottles.
Okay.
Which is pretty good. Yeah.
When did you make the change to the 19.2s? Is that like
So that was something that sort of came out of the ballpark
that's what I was
things, and then the other thing is convenience stores. The 19.2s and convenience, just the people want to have that beer they can take away.
Mm-hmm.
So
Take
and
on the
that's why
train.
the big boy, the very mega, that goes out to those kind of places and concert venues, things like that. People,
Yeah.
I mean, I don't want to be drinking a very mega in the middle of the summer at a Phillies game. I want to drink one of those two beers because it's going to be refreshing. It's going to be great.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I mean, those 19.2s at the Pale Ale and Philly Standard, that's like synonymous with me. Like, I picture that like I'm at a Phillies game.
Yeah.
Right.
Someone's walking around selling those. I'm eating a hot dog, or 9 of them.
I got guys that come in and buy the 19.2s just because they want to feel like they're at the game at home
Oh my gosh.
and watch the game in their regular TV set,
That's crazy.
which is awesome.
That's fantastic.
So what is, I mean, do you guys have plans to do anything else? Or, I mean, is it just, I mean, I feel like Spring Garden, where you guys are at right now, is like the neighborhood is changing so much. It's
Yeah.
like, it's almost the neighborhood is coming to you.
Yes, which is great, and we're going to try to make that place as efficient as we can.
Yeah.
Get the most out of it. And the other thing is, it's like, yeah, let's look down the road at using one of our storage licenses, or most likely it wouldn't even be a storage license. We'd probably put a brew house in there.
Okay, cool.
Small on a small end.
So you guys
Do
only
some
have,
unique things.
do you only have the 100-barrel brew house right now?
So we have a 100-barrel brew house, and within it we have a 20-barrel pilot system.
Oh, cool.
So all it uses all the same tanks, except the lauter ton. We have a 100-barrel
Oh, wow.
lauter ton and a 20-barrel lauter ton.
That's tricky.
So we just mash in less to the mash mixer,
Yeah.
and our kettle is an external boil. So really, all we need is those 3 barrels that's external to be flowing in there. And
That's
we can,
cool.
So brewing to a boil 20 barrels is nothing.
That's very
It
cool.
works really good. So we can do that, and then we have our 1-barrel pilot system that we just have fun on and make up new ideas and
Yeah.
throw something. We did a crazy Imperial Red the other day. So
An Imperial Red?
yeah.
Wow. Never heard of that.
You serve those at the tap room then after?
Sometimes we do. That didn't make it to the tap room. That just stayed on the back taps for the staff to try and things like that. Which is, yeah. But no, we did. We will bring stuff like that, like 1 keg, because it's a 1-barrel system.
Yeah.
We'll get 1 full keg out of it and a couple sixtels, and we might throw it on, see what people think.
Mm-hmm.
We'll have a QR code on the menu, and they can go in there and rate it.
Nice. How much, are you guys doing any cask distribution at all?
We are, yeah. We're actually, decent amount. We still, supply the cask for Dandelion, 700 Club. Still does cask.
Cool.
There's a few places. I mean, Standard Tap.
Yeah.
Dawson Street, huge. I mean, they've got 3 beer engines.
It's fun now because you guys built your entire brand on like the English brewery, and I
Yeah.
feel like English style ales are kind of coming back.
Yeah, they are.
And it's like
Yeah.
like kind of, I guess everything's cyclical, but it's I feel like English ales for a while are slept on. It's like IPAs were so big that like people just forget how like.
I always say they weren't sexy.
Yeah.
English ales were like, it's an English ale. It's not exciting, not a lot of hops, not but then you're going like, my God, it's a good beer.
Yeah.
Like Brawler.
Yeah.
It's a mild. You're 4.2. It's like you can just pound 3 of them and go back to work.
They're so good. Yeah. People just like kind of write them off because they're just like a different style, like ESA or mild. Like obviously there's staples in Philadelphia, but like for the standard non-drinker, that's not a normal style that they're used to.
Yeah, it's not. But what's really cool is it's an awesome gateway beer too.
Definitely.
For them to start getting more into craft beer.
Definitely.
Hitting a Brawler or even hitting a Philly Pale.
100%. 100%.
The beers, I mean, you guys have a wide range. I feel like a lot of your beers are like approachable beers. Like there's nothing that's like some crazy, insane, out of left field.
Exactly. And some get that way, but they're limited to you're selling that to.
Well, I mean, you sell that, but like I don't think that when I think of Yards beers, I think of like approachable, sessionable beers.
Yeah, exactly. And also, when you're thinking about marketing, things like that, your best-selling package is a 12-pack can.
Yeah.
What's going to sell in a 12-pack can?
Something
like Philly Pale, something like, the Philly Standard. This beer is going to be something that's going to be selling in that. So that's where you're getting volume. That's where you're getting, big growth, things like that. And, we concentrate on that. So
nice.
I mean, think about it.
So as like someone who's, I mean, you've been kind of the center, like you were saying, like kind of everything that's happened in Philly Beer Week, like in Philly Beer, like you have like, some sort of,
some
region.
connection.
Yeah. Is that from you, or is just like everyone knows Tom Kehoe, so it's like we're doing something, let's get Tom Kehoe involved?
No, I think it's a two-way street on that, really.
Because even for like the last 8 years that I've been involved in like Philly beer scene, it's like even the local NBA meetings.
Right.
You're really the only president that's like coming to these meetings.
Right.
It's mostly like a bunch of like young brewers, but it's nice to see that like when you're there, like you're making a presence. Like it feels like people are kind of.
I've always been part of the NBAA and stuff like that. It was always a big, thing to be that, because I was board of governors for I don't know, maybe like 15 years or something like that.
Yeah.
And then I'm still treasurer, and I just think I just want to make sure nobody messes up. That's part of it. But at the same time, we got a new group in, which is really starting to do some good things, and I think it's going to boost membership.
Cool.
And membership has changed. Before it was big guys.
Yeah.
It was the Yuengling, Lion, whoever else was in there, that were most of the numbers. Now it's craft brewers that are trying to increase their skills a little bit.
Nice.
And even going to the NBAA conference.
Yeah.
The talks are a little bit more geared
to the smaller brewers.
To the regional brewers, things like that. So, smaller brewers are getting their knowledge from the regional, and it's just working the best way it can to.
That's cool. We had on Aaron yesterday and talking about the importance of Pink Boost, but for male brewers, it's also the same thing. Like they need to feel something that they're connected to. And, Brewers of Pennsylvania is really for like the owners of breweries, but like the NBA is important because like they need to see people like you. They need to talk to people that are have been in the industry, that are leaders, and it's just it's just a hard industry to be in.
Right. And the other thing, I'm approachable.
Yeah.
I think that's part of the.
Definitely.
I think people are afraid. Like I was afraid to go to my NBAA meetings because it was like, no, these are big brewers. It's like no, they're more interested in what you're doing than you are what they're doing.
Yeah.
And it was really the truth. I mean, first meeting we attended, I remember, was at Yuengling, and I brought one of our assistant brewers with me, and we were having issues with. We were using a Maheen bottler, and we were rinsing the bottles, and we had a bucket full of water and oxine, which is chlorine dioxide.
Yeah.
And we were rinsing everything, and we were going through, and we would ask them, we'd say, this is what we're doing, and it's crazy. Our beer tastes oxidized all the time. Is it the filler? It's like, no, the chlorine dioxide
Yeah.
is the little drips that you have in there. That's turning into oxygen in the bottle after you package it.
Yeah.
Because it's not dry, it's just dripped.
Yeah.
So that was like one thing. And so we ended up switching to iodophor in our rinse, and we got rid of that. All of a sudden, we didn't have the oxidized character anymore. So.
Yeah, it's like one of those, like you're banging your head against the wall trying to figure this thing out. And you have a 15-second conversation.
Conversation. Just, what are you doing? Oh, well, here's what happened. I was like, we couldn't believe it.
Yeah.
And I think the real issue was we were probably making it a little too strong.
So
in,
it's
in
like
the bucket, so
spicy.
it was so it was a little bit too much chlorine dioxide in there, which after it kills, the surfactant kills, it
Still
evaporates into O2,
Mm-hmm.
which is the great thing about it, but not when it's still in your bottle.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Like balancing, do I want to be clean or do I want my beer to taste like paper?
right, and then just changing a chemical around or something like that.
Yeah.
And then realizing it's like, hey, I can always ask these guys a question. And we
Definitely.
did, like our packaging line, talking to some of these Yuengling guys, it's like, just how to make the feed, not jam. Like when you get down those last 2 bottles and some guys gotta rattle the.
Mm-hmm.
You guys don't do this in England? You guys don't have the bottle rattler guy?
No, right. And it's just like, it was all about measuring and how, what combination of angles worked and we would never, bang 2 bottles together anymore.
How tricky were the logistics at the Delaware location? I mean, you guys were so tight, like the warehouse, the storage, like
Yeah.
it seemed like it was like playing Tetris back there.
It was, but at the same time, I mean, it would have been a lot easier if we didn't have to store our truck inside.
Okay, yeah.
That was one of the things about
One
that
of the other
location.
things being City Brewery.
Exactly. Well, now we don't have to, but it's a much different kind of setup. So,
Yeah.
But
That's crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess you've been here through the brewing industry in Philly.
yeah,
Kind of
it's been great. I mean, it's just like, you see all the changes.
Yeah.
You see like, sports bars turn into gastropubs, turn into, themed restaurants or something like that.
Yeah.
It's all this stuff that's like, it's just the industry.
Yeah.
And, we've had some rough times in like the late 90s where, good craft breweries were going out of business because there wasn't enough places serving craft beer.
Yeah.
If all those places were serving craft beer, those guys never would have went out of business.
Yeah.
And they would have been able to weather that storm.
Yeah.
Right now, it's like being a city brewery crushed us during COVID.
Yeah.
Most of our sales were draft downtown.
Wow.
I mean, like, when you're packaging brewery and you're packaging a lot of draft, we took all that back, dumped most of it. And, that was a big part of the business that still hasn't come back.
And a lot of the taproom business, like people in the suburbs, they just kind of open up their parking lots or whatever. Like you guys in the middle of the city, it's hard to find space.
Right, exactly. So, and even today, it's like draft isn't as big as it was before. People have gone on to do more themed bars and restaurants, things like that. So
Yeah, I know Fairmount Tavern doesn't even have any drafts.
that's right.
It's
All they
just
got is
all
cans. Yeah.
I was actually I was
Garage.
there the whole
Yeah.
They have one draft line, but
Yeah.
things like that. But it's all cans.
Yeah.
There's some the stadiums. Stadiums are getting away from draft beer.
Yeah.
They can count every single can, every draft fill.
Yeah, it's hard
You
to
never
do
know.
that.
Yeah.
That's crazy. Cool. Well, I guess, do you have anything else to say? I mean, like, you've done so much in Philly beer. It's like, it's
Hey, we're not done
on.
yet.
Yeah, no, definitely.
Hopefully, we're going to see what happens as the neighborhood builds around us, which is going to be awesome.
Mm-hmm.
And
Did you know all that stuff was coming when you moved over there? I mean, it's the neighborhood in the last 3 years has exploded.
Yeah, no, that
no?
wasn't. Yeah,
Okay.
no, we had no idea. Although they did change zoning,
Okay.
so we had to actually get a variance where 6 months earlier we wouldn't have had to get a variance to do the brewery there.
Got it.
But they were, the city council was just like, that's. It's not to do anything against you, and we were going to make sure you get through. You're just going to have to do it that the variance way. We're like, okay.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, it was crazy,
Yeah.
And that's the beer industry. I mean, there's characters, there's personalities in this industry that drive beer and beer culture.
Yeah.
And that's one cool thing about Philadelphia. It's always been a beer city.
Yeah.
And it was a beer city before craft beer came in because it was a lot of people. There was a lot of imports. There was a lot of fun beer happening, and I think it's going to always still be a beer city. I mean, the RTDs, things like that. They're just giving you the alcohol in a different form.
Yeah.
A different way to sell it to you.
Yeah.
And people are going to eventually choose that or choose beer. And I think it's eventually going to get back to beer again. So.
I think so too. We're very like blue collar city. It's like we're not a cocktail city. We're drinking beer city in a dive bar.
Yep. We like it that way.
No. Yes. Yeah. Cool. Well, thank you for coming on.
Thanks so much.
This was great.
Yeah.
Are we done already?
Yeah, it's been an hour.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Doesn't even seem that way when you're just talking about what you love,
No, exactly. And thank you for all the beer. This is great.
Really appreciate it.
Do you guys have any new beers that are coming out soon?
We are coming out with a new beer. It's going to be a new IPA.
That's what it's called?
Well, no. Okay. I wanted to call it new IPA, but I don't know if I can actually say, but yes.
Okay.
There'll be an IPA coming out in a green can.
Ooh.
Okay. Cool.
So, because our regular IPA is in a red can. So,
got it.
But I love the color, and everybody did, and we just. So yeah, I don't want to spoil it, or
I got you.
However the marketing team's gonna announce and launch this thing, but.
And then we can find you guys at Yards. Is it Yards Brewing?
Yardsbrewing.com. Yep.
Okay, and then your Instagram. Do you know that Yards Brewing?
I think it's at Yards Brew.
I think it's Yards Brew.
Yeah, I think you're right. Also.
And 500 Spring Garden Street.
500 Spring Garden.
Come by and say hi.
Cool. Thank you for coming out. You can follow us at Brewdat or at the Brewdat Podcast, and we'll see you guys in 2 weeks.
Sweet.
Awesome.